Bruce and Navin from Chasing Valentine, thank you so much for coming to Milan and joining us. Congratulations on your nomination.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, our pleasure, yeah.
No, honestly, I mean, I haven't seen all the film, I've seen something really good, so, well done. And we do appreciate you coming along and supporting the festival. As I alluded to earlier, it's always the same opening question because every story is so different. How the original idea came along and how you developed it. So I assume this comes from you, Navin. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. So I started off by wanting to write a film about several different characters and several different relationships.
Right.
That by the end of the movie, they all intersect and interconnect. Kind of like a darker version of Love Actually, you can say. But as I was writing it, I sort of came to the realization that our main characters were the most interesting stories amongst all the characters and all the stories that I was writing. So I decided to focus on just kind of scrap that idea and write the main story because we had a very interesting protagonist, an interesting antagonist, but the relationship between our two leads, our two main characters, were very interesting to me, and I figured that, okay, that's going to be the story now. So that's kind of how it happened. A lot of the stories and a lot of the plot points in the movie were very loosely taken from either stories I've heard, real life experiences to an extent, and sort of just relationships that I've known, and sort of this is sort of like a more interesting cinematic version of all those stories, kind of thing. And I got Neil Schneider to come on board, a writer friend of mine, and he ended up co-writing it with me. And he sort of whipped the script into shape basically, and he structured it so nicely, and that ended up becoming Chasing Valentine. And we shot a short film called Seek that's essentially, you could call it a prequel to Chasing Valentine. It sort of establishes the relationship of two of our characters in the future.
They did allude to one of your
Jen Poe.
Jen, did say that she'd sort of done like the same thing, like a prequel, and so she's expanding on her character.
Yeah. So her character in our feature is sort of like the backstory. So you see a little bit of that. You see enough of that in the feature for the feature to be standalone, obviously. But the short film was pretty much our pitch to get funding and get the word out there for this movie.
Right, okay.
So that's how it all started. It all started with Seek, the short film, and then that expanded into Chasing Valentine.
And Bruce, did you work on Seek?
We did. In fact, that was the first time that we ever worked together.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
He handed me the camera for the first time.
I usually shoot my own stuff.
Yeah.
But then Bruce is the cinematographer that I trust since Seek to operate for me, and it's been great ever since.
So what's interesting is obviously all filmmakers use previous work to pitch for new work. That's obvious, but pitching for new work using something to build on to get the money, but really expanding on that is not really something I've come across before. So you're not using this. So you're using it very differently. I mean, you're expanding on something you've already done. So a stupid question I'm going to ask anyway. How much I mean, it's never easy to get funding. Like, I know all this, but how much easier did it make it to get the required funding in terms of for this film? I mean, did it obviously work because you've got the money, but did it make a great deal of difference?
Well, having the short before the feature and having the short to pitch the feature definitely helped a lot, in the sense that people could the whole reason for making the short was to be able to show people and show potential investors, here's what we can do. We have the same team on board, the same director, same DP, same writers coming on board to do the feature version of this film. And I didn't really want to do, a lot of people do trailers and such, but I didn't want to do that because I feel, and this is my personal opinion, I feel that making a trailer for a movie is sort of disingenuous. It's sort of, it's not honest, because I can cut a trailer of a movie to look amazing for a very mediocre movie. But using that trailer and manipulating it to make it look amazing is not necessarily representative of what the final product is like. So I wanted to make a movie that was within the same world, but standalone. So the short film and the feature are both standalone films. So if you haven't seen the short, obviously you totally get the feature, and vice versa. But at the same time, if you've seen both, you kind of get an expansion of it. It's sort of like an expansion pack to a video game, I guess. But you know what I mean? Like, it's And to answer your question, yes, it did, because people could see I wasn't just talking about my vision and my style and what I can do and stuff like that. I was actually showing them, here's what I can do.
Yeah.
And the style of the movie and the tone of the movie is very similar to the short that we did.
And in terms of the investment, was it all through business investment? Was there any crowdsourcing, crowdfunding, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, it's a
mix. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a mix of several different sources. It was it's a shoestring budget movie. It's a micro budget movie. We did part of the funding came from Indiegogo, so we did a crowdfunding campaign.
Yeah.
Part of it came from private investors, and everything else came from my own bank account and my friends' MasterCard and American Express.
Right, okay. So now, I don't know if you were here on Tuesday when we had because the room was packed for the Q&A with Paul Ray and...
Yeah, the distribution panel, we were there.
You were there, okay. I'm sorry, I'm just saying there's so many people.
And actually they're all in our screening right now.
Yeah. I've been to lots of these Q&As, with obviously Paul Ray and Neil Brad, who's not here unfortunately at the moment. But the thing that struck me about it was, I take my hats off to all filmmakers. I couldn't do it. My God, the hoops you have to jump through. But particularly watching that, and the hoops you have to jump through in terms of the contracts and the legal side of it. I'm not being funny. I guess all you want to do is pick up a camera and make a film.
Yeah.
And all the other crap, that's the wrong word, but all the other stuff that goes with it. How do you spin all those plates? I haven't got a clue. Because you've got to have that in place, I guess.
Absolutely. And I was lucky enough. So coming back to the short that we made, it attracted a producer who was an experienced producer in the industry in Toronto, and he got hand of the short film and loved it so much that he called a meeting, asked to meet me. So we went for a coffee and we met, and he offered to produce the feature. Right. So that's how everything kickstarted. I was in the process of starting to raise money for the feature when I had this meeting with him, and he came on board. Bruno Marino is his name, and he came on board to produce Chasing Valentine. And he was the element that I really needed because I work in the industry. I work as a commercial director in Toronto, and I have relationships with cast and crew and gear and locations and all that. I have the stuff to make the movie, but making the movie is only one part of getting the movie business.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, it's so complex.
Exactly. Once you've made the movie, then that's where my expertise stopped. I can make a movie. I can make a good movie. And then I have to hand it off to someone who knows what they're doing to get the movie out there. And that person bookends it, right? They come in the beginning to make sure all your paperwork, all your paper trail, and everything is in order. So that was our producer, Bruno, and he came in and sorted all the legalities and the paperwork and the contracts and so on and so forth out for us.
So he took all that. So when the Q&A guys were talking about this, I suppose what you're saying, because it fried my brain. I was thinking, oh God, how can any filmmaker deal with this? It's like a nightmare. But you had someone in place, because I was confused by, in a way, what they're saying. It sounded to me as though, and I might be wrong here, that the filmmakers needed to be on and have what's done. But in the actual fact, I'm wrong, and what you've done is get someone to do all that for you.
Yeah,
of course.
That's why I think that's probably me being stupid. It sounded perhaps I was overcomplicating it, but that was the way.
Right.
Well, I think the term filmmaker refers to a large number of people involved.
Yeah.
Right.
So everyone, including the producer.
It's not just the director, right?
Yeah,
so
because
the director is the artist of the film, but there's other filmmakers who can handle all the
other aspects of it.
Yeah.
And that's why my biggest advice to people is like Paul said in the Q&A, get a good entertainment lawyer and get a good producer on board, because the producer is the person who's going to take care of the business side of the movie. Like myself as a filmmaker, I just want to pick up a camera and make the movie.
You don't want to know, but I wouldn't want to know about that.
I can give you a good product, but getting it out there isn't my forte. So I wouldn't want to pretend to be able to do that either, because that's why I think we are lucky in having put together an awesome team for this movie, so that all those elements were taken care of. So I didn't just have a movie and then it just sits in my basement or on my shelf because I can't get it out there due to legal issues or lack of contract or so on and so forth. You know what I mean? So So yeah.
And it was a 2-week shoot, I believe. Was it a 2-week shoot?
2 weeks plus a couple
4 days.
Yeah. So we shot 2 weeks in the fall.
Yeah.
And then and we knew we were losing things, right? So we pushed them off to the future pickup day, and then it was winter. and then so Navin cut the film. I think he probably went pretty deep into the edit at that point.
Yeah, I pretty much had an assembly cut before we
Yeah.
went back for the 4 additional days because we wanted to see if you're missing anything or if something's not working.
Yeah.
Then when we
And-
go back for the additional days, we could pick it
Yeah,
up.
to be in Toronto is a great, like, it gives you basically the winter window where, like, you can do all that work because we cannot go back to camera until it thaws.
Mm-hmm.
And so-
Right, yeah, because I suppose it's shot to be in a seasonal.
Yeah,
It's an autumn film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did you shoot? What was the film shot on?
We shot on a Scarlet.
On a red Scarlet MX, yeah.
With super speed glass. Those ice super speeds.
And with these, I mean, I know a lot of people talk about reds, and again, it's a bit of a silly question, but
Yeah.
is that something you can buy? They're just so expensive you can hire. I mean, you might have deep pockets, I don't know, but generally they're hired cameras, are they? Reds.
Well, we don't have deep
Navin-
pockets. Let's get
No,
first of all.
I just wondered.
Yeah.
No, I don't know quite how it
What's
works.
the question exactly?
So this is hard. I don't know if anyone buys the red cameras. They seem
People do
pretty
buy
expensive.
them, yeah.
They
Yeah.
seem very expensive.
Yeah, in
but I
fact,
don't
this
know.
gentleman bought one, and that's what we filmed the movie on.
That's the camera that we shot
Yeah.
on. So I
Yeah.
own the red Scarlet X, and I purchased it I think a year before we shot
About
Chasing
a
Valentine.
year, yeah.
Yeah. And so that's the camera that we ended up using on this film.
Yeah.
And they're
And
fantastic cameras. I mean, I'm no.
They're fantastic. Oh,
It
yeah.
just seems a lovely picture.
there's cinema cameras and the movies that shot like Hollywood movies that shot with these cameras, right? So I owned the red Scarlet, and that's what we shot on, and that saved a huge chunk of the budget, obviously, because I owned the camera.
Yeah, and in terms, I mean, I know. I mean, this is just I know this because of people I speak to. This, being honest, they basically all shoot on digital. They all most of them shoot on digital because I suppose films just too prohibitively expensive, and of course you can do things with digital.
Yeah.
It's convenient. You just wipe it or whatever you do with it.
Well, I'll tell you what's really convenient about it, especially because he owns it, is that he's cutting the movie, and he's like, I wish I had an insert of this.
And I'd go out and shoot the insert and come back
Right?
and put it in my
He doesn't
head.
even have to call me, right? Like
Yeah.
he's doing an insert of like someone's cigarette going into an ashtray or something, right? He can just build all that stuff on his own without any need of a crew or anything. It's
Yeah, and-
free footage.
Absolutely, and that happened because there were a few times where that happened. There were things in the edit that I wanted that we didn't have, so I just called, Gwendolyn or Adam, our actors, and just say, hey, are you free tomorrow night? I got to shoot this insert or whatever, and they'd be like, yeah. So I'll, grab my camera, and we'd shoot the insert, and I'll come back home and put it in. I mean, that's the magic of the I guess the amazing thing about digital filmmaking nowadays. It's so accessible, right?
Yeah,
I cut
yeah.
the whole movie at home on my computer. And now we have a movie that's playing.
And of course you can. I mean, a classic example is you put it on the thumb drive. I know you can get the bigger version, but essentially, if you'd have bought in the even on a hard drive.
Well, we
for
actually
example.
did that. Our world premiere was in Orlando,
Yeah.
and our DCP cinema package fit on a USB thumb drive.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you, the question I was going to ask was, if you had the chance, would you actually shoot in 35mm, or would you just now you've got it, you just whatever? I'm sticking to digital.
Well, me personally, I shot my first film on 16mm.
Right.
And I do like film, and I used to be in the early stages of digital filmmaking. I used to be a huge advocate for film, and no, digital is never going to match film. But now I think it does very closely. And if I had the budget for it and the project called for the 35mm look, of course I would love to shoot on 35. But more often than not, that's not the case, and you can often come very close to what 35mm looks like
Yeah.
on digital.
Yeah, because it does have that lovely look to it.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm no expert, but I'm trying to think of, I don't know, Predators as an example. I know shot on digital, and I look at that, and then, and I only knew because I was reading about how it was shot, and I was thinking, how would you know that wasn't real film? Because to me, it does. I mean, you obviously know the difference. But
in my opinion, digital filmmaking opens up far more things than shooting film does, because film has a look.
Yeah.
Digital filmmaking has any look you want on it. And if you want to make it look like film, except for maybe maybe a few very discerning eyes, you can make it look like film. You can also make it look like something else. And I think the aesthetics of cinema has changed because of digital filmmaking.
Yeah.
Because you can now make things look vastly different. So I mean that's what I think is incredible about it. In answer to the film question, I'd love to shoot on film too. But it'd be more of a gimmick, I think. To shoot on it would be it'd be for the experience. It'd be the experience of waiting for reloads and like knowing that you're burning money every time you roll. And like it would change the attitude on set, and it would be a different experience.
Yeah, because you've got to get it right very quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking to that, the good thing about shooting on film or having shot on film is you learn the discipline of not burning footage, because you're so conservative with what you shoot in terms of you rehearse, you make sure everything's lit properly, you have everything set before you roll the camera. But with digital,
Well, we actually did that. Our film
yeah,
was
we did
like
that. We did that. Yeah, absolutely.
Part of what was really incredible about our film is that like it's not. I don't want to say shoestring, but like micro budget, I think is under describing how quickly and how fast we managed to do it with such a small crew. And so our camera only had 2 magazines to put footage on, and we never were waiting to reload that magazine, and we were never filling it with too much stuff that we couldn't get it turned over in order to put the next one in. So we treated our shoot very much like a film shoot.
Our shooting ratio, I think, was about 5-to-1. I think.
Yeah, like we shot what we needed to shoot.
Yeah.
And we rehearsed, when we knew it wasn't going to be worth recording,
And I suppose the other beauty, of course, of digital courses must be the editing, because, of course, I'm assuming you do it on Max. I'm guessing. I don't know, but it's because it's digital. There's no reams of film hanging out, a cutter and all that. It's just all done inside the virtual world, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, even if you shoot on film, you scan it and cut it digitally before you print it back on the film. But yeah, I mean, what you see is what you get, right? With digital filmmaking, what you see is what you get, and then you can just bring it right into your editing suite, and off you go,
And just getting back, I know you use this as your first one was a starting point for chasing Valentine. So does that mean potentially you could have another? I mean, I know any film can have a sequel, of course, but is that something that's in the back of your mind? Actually, because we've done it this way, we could actually have something brand new that fits onto the end of that story.
I've never thought of it. Actually, I've always designed it as a standalone film, chasing Valentine at least. So. No, I don't. I mean, unless there's a demand for it for whatever reason. But I think the movie is a nice. It's. I like the way it ends. I like the way our movie ends and how the stories tie in at the end of the movie. And I don't know. I've never thought about it.
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think. Although I do like the universe thing. I wouldn't mind seeing, one or two of those characters. I wouldn't be against the idea of making another film that has some characters that are from this film.
Yeah, because it is possible. It is possible. The story can continue. But yeah, I mean, the whole reason the short was made was to get this made.
Yeah. I get that. So what's next? You must have something in the pipeline, I guess. What's next up on the
Well, actually, we are shooting a short film right now here in Milan.
Oh no! Of course, Gwendolyn, I think, alluded to that.
Yeah.
So you've got a short film, and then what's that? A drama, comedy?
This one's a drama. The short film is a drama. I mean, it kind of we sort of, we were all hanging out one night and we were like, oh, we're all going to Milan. So you have a director, DP, and 2 amazing actors going to Milan together and living together. We're all staying at the same place right now. So like,
let's make a film.
And we're in Milan, and let's just make a film. Yeah. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, we went to Orlando. We pitched ideas.
Yeah.
And Adam
wrote it.
He wrote it.
Yeah.
And we banged off 2 scenes last night, and we shot a scene this morning.
Yeah, with Adam and Jen. So it's amazing. So we're like, So this is more of a fun sort of project. But sort of my next real project is, not to say that this is not a real project, but my next project is another feature that I'm currently reading dozens and dozens of screenplays. And I've sort of zoned in on 2 that I really like, and I'm discussing it with my producer as to which one to do.
So you get, a silly question again is, of course, you must get sent barrel loads of screenplays. I've never really sort of, considered that. So, literally every day you've got new screenwriters trying to get their screenplay to you. But that must happen to all directors, and they must get absolutely inundated. How the heck do you actually get time to go through them all? Honestly.
Well, I never. No, I mean I'm unable to do that because there's no time for it. But I do, if people do approach me, or if I'm looking for something specific. I'm looking for at least a specific genre. Like right now, I'm looking for a horror film.
Right.
So I often ask for log lines and synopsis, a 1-page synopsis and a log line. If you send me that, and if I'm interested, then I ask for the screenplay. I will never read a full screenplay without seeing a log line.
It needs to be eye-catching. They've got to get into that first page to grab your attention.
Yeah, just give me a 1-page synopsis and a log line, and if it's something I'm looking for, if it's something I'm looking for and something that sounds good, I would approach the writer to send me something. But I'm also attached to sort of an agency, I guess, called Inktip. They're based out of LA, and they sort of work as they function as a liaison between writers and filmmakers.
Right.
And they're great because they do all the filtering for me. I can just go to them and say, hey, I'm looking for, I'm looking for a low budget horror movie. I'm looking for a horror movie that I can do for under $1 million or $500,000 or whatever it is. And I'm looking for something that's limited locations, limited characters, for an example. And they would sift through the thousands and thousands of screenplays that they have and send me select few, So instead of going through 200 screenplays, they will send me a list of maybe 20 or 30, and then I look at those log lines and synopses, and then just get the screenplays that I want to read.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I could talk to you for hours. I really could. Wonderful. Thank you.